Hey.
There you go.
Hey.
I'm not the old fella.
Thanks.
I'm the young fella. Viagra. Now, hang on a minute, I'm a young fella. It's not that. Viagra's for old fellas. So what is it for young fellas? Red Bull. Red Bull? Yeah? I must be in the wrong area tonight. But anyway, I'm here at the Business Awards, the Gulgong Business Awards. Yay! So I'm really excited. So I travel throughout the countryside, and I love coming out to country areas and speaking to entrepreneurs and business owners in country areas. Myself, I was born in Orange. My family's been in Orange for 5 generations. So when I come out to country towns, I can really relate to everybody and what they're experiencing in good times and in bad times. So you know, we have a connection there that I'm a country boy as well. So that's a good thing. So guys, tonight, basically my theme for the night is going to be around how to successfully run your business in a country town. Now, some of the things that I'm actually going to say tonight might go over your head, but some of the things that I will say to you tonight will, you know, I'll drive it home so that, you know, in 2012 you guys can implement some of these things. If it's just one of these things that you can actually implement in your business, then it's going to make a difference to your business, yeah? So what I want to do is just start off with a story and tell you about a story, and it's an inspirational story, and it's going to set the tone and the theme for, I suppose, the body of content that I'm actually going to talk about today. And some of this stuff that I'm going to share with you about this particular business will make your eyes open somewhat. It was about, like, in my job, I'm a business coach and I'm a speaker, and I've written 3 books, all bestsellers. I travel around Australia talking about innovation, business success, and I've got a YouTube channel. I'm pretty much out there talking about business success, and I actually interview a lot of people that are successful. And the reason why I want to interview a lot of people that are successful is to find out what made them successful. You know, just the little things or the big things that made them successful. And in my journey over the last 15 years, I've got to meet some really interesting, exciting people. But there's one particular guy in the last, 18 months that I've been aware of who started up a business, and it's a phenomenal business, and I just want to share you this story. About 18 months ago, a good friend of mine, Michelle Duval, who's a business coach, she actually rang me up and said, look, you've got to meet this guy. His name's Mark Rowland, and he's starting up a business online. Now, I own a number of companies. I own Big Digital Communications, which is a company where we actually help people build online businesses and sell products and services online, and they make a big impact online. And that's where the shift's actually taking place. Like, everybody in this room probably has noticed that there's been a lot of stuff on radio and on TV and in the papers about how, you know, retailers are suffering because most people are going and buying online, right? Yeah? Most people read that? That's what's happening. So as a business owner, you've got to be consciously aware of that. So if you need to shift your business in a particular direction, you have to do it. Otherwise, the reality is in the future you'll be out of business. And it really relates to any town, any city, and any location around the world. So when I was introduced to Mark, he said to me, I'm building an online store to sell shoes. All right? And when he told me that, I went, well, wow, selling shoes online, like, really, how successful that is going to be. And anyway, 18 months ago, he kept on saying, you've got to come and see me, you've got to come and see me, have a cup of coffee. And for whatever reason, we just didn't get together. Anyway, he launched his business in November last year in Sydney. He's got a warehouse operation, offices out at Olympic Park. And I went out there to speak to him and spend, 2-3 hours with him. And he said, you're going to be amazed when you come out to my office and my warehouse and see what I've got. And he never really told me anything about it. I saw his website and it looked pretty fancy, it looked pretty good. So when I got out to Sydney Olympic Park, pulled up the car, went in to the warehouse, and in front of me were, like, that's probably, I'd say 4 or 5 times the size of this, even bigger than this room. And in front of me were 55,000 pairs of shoes. Right, girls? Heaven, right? Some guys out there that wear stilettos. Don't know where you are. After a few drinks tonight, you might be getting them on. But anyway, I walked in there and it's 55,000 pairs of shoes, and I went, whoa, and there's these little machines going around, and guys going up and down and grabbing these boxes, and it was like Oompa Loompa Land, you know, the Charlie Chocolate Factory thing, and I'm like standing there like a kid in a candy shop watching all this stuff, and then I was waiting, and for about 10 or 15 minutes. That's what CEOs do at large companies. They make you wait. But in the meantime, I was just helping myself, and I was going around the office, and there were 3 pool tables, and there were 3 tennis tables, and there were push bikes, and there were scooters, and there were pinball machines, and all this stuff in this recreation area. And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. So then Mark came down, and he said, well, welcome to Style Trends. Now, has anybody in the room heard of this business, Style Trends? 1, 2, 3. Who's bought from Style Trends? 1. Way to go. Awesome. There we go. We've got 1 person in the room. And I just stood there in awe, and I just went, wow. And he said, welcome to Style Trends. He said, I'm going to take you on this guided tour through my business. So we started off, and we went, you know, to these computers, and he said, these computers here, these 4 computers, our online business, this is where all the orders come in here, and we print out A4 bits of paper. And he said, then the A4 bits of paper go over to this section that's over here. So we walk over to this section, all right? Now I want you to visualise this. A pile of A4 paper piled up that high. And I looked at that and I went, what's that? He said, they're all the orders that came in last night. Every morning at 8 o'clock, we'd print out all the orders and we'd load it all up. I went, wow. I said, that's pretty cool. I said, how many's there? And he said, probably about 1,200 orders. All right. Now you do the maths on this, all right? 1,200 orders at, say, $100. All right? In one night. So I went, wow, that's pretty cool. And he said, right, well, that's what happens. And he said, now when we get the orders in, he said, what we do is we segregate alphabetically all the products in order, and then the guys come along, and they get on their little trucks, and they go along, and they go up and down, they load up the products, the shoes. And this is 55,000 pairs of shoes, all right? And 70% of them are Australian brands. The other 30 are imported. So then the shoes come back, and then they get packaged up, and then they get shipped out, all right? And I'm standing there while he's talking to me and showing me all these shoes and all this staff like running around like a beehive, and I just couldn't comprehend, like, you know, like buying a pair of shoes. I said, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And he said, well, how long does it take you to, you know that you're going to buy that pair of shoes, like when you put those pair of shoes on? So I ask you the question: how long, when you walk into a shoe store and you put on a pair of shoes, guys and girls, how long does it take you to make the decision that they're the right ones and you're going to purchase?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Well, I said 5.
She's the only woman.
Well, that's a girl.
That does that.
Guys, how long for you?
What's that on? What's that
Minute, 2 minutes? But I said 5. And he said, exactly. And I said, well, you know, why are people buying online? Like, you know, they might buy a pair of shoes and they just don't fit. And he said, well, this is what we've got. It's a 100-day policy. He said, you can try in the convenience of your own home. You can buy 1 pair of shoes, 2 pairs of shoes. You can buy 6, try them on. He said, what happens when you're in a shop? Are you under pressure with time? And I said, absolutely. He said, are you under pressure from the salesperson trying to convince you that you've got to buy the shoes? I said, absolutely. He said, well, what we've got is the opposite of that. He said, when we send the shoes out, all right, the women or guys, right, predominantly women, can try it on with 3 or 4 dresses, a pair of jeans, have a party, get all the girls around and, you know, say, hey, which ones do you think I should buy? You know, if you bought 6, well, then you keep 2, you send the other 4 back. And he's got a 20% return rate on his shoes being sent back, as long as they're in A1 condition. So his selling positioning strategy is try the shoes on in the comfort of your own home. Whatever you don't like, send them back to us.
The girls like a lot. Yeah, that's uncomfortable.
Great business model. So then, after we've done the tour in the warehouse, he takes me upstairs. And he goes, right, actually, first he took me to this little area in his warehouse where he's bought this camera worth $5,000 and he's set up his own little studio. So when they get the shoe, they put the shoe in, the shoe comes in, the boxes, the new shoes come in, they take a shoe, put it on the little stage, take a front shot, side shot, back shot, left, right, and then they've got all these shots. It's uploaded, goes up into the marketing department, so he takes me upstairs. You walk in, there's 3 or 4 girls, they're in heaven. They're loading up all these shoes, and they go, oh, look at that one, look at this one, look at that one. And they're really excited. And then when the shoes are actually loaded up, then all the other departments, which is finance, and then he's got a marketing department, and the marketing department actually do everything from Google AdWords to Facebook to Twitter and everything else. So he took me into that department. And he said, you know, Facebook, we've got, you know, I don't know what it is, thousands of people on Facebook. And I said, well, out of everything you're doing in your marketing, what is the biggest impact in your marketing? And he said, Facebook. The Facebook referrals, the Facebook likes, the shares and everything else. And his site is actually bringing them more business. So as far as Facebook is concerned as a tool, so I'm convinced that this is happening. Guess how much the guy has turned over in a 12-month period?
35 million.
$15 million.
20% return.
All right. So this is a guy that started off with 3 people, a dream, a vision, a business plan, and open up a business. And the reason why I'm telling you this, it's an online business. So he's got it set up in Olympic Park. But it doesn't matter which geographic location you're at. It could be Gulgong, it could be Mudgee, it could be Orange, it could be Whoop Whoop, it could be Alice Springs, wherever. Right? The internet is a worldwide business. If you've got products or services, you can sell to the world. All right? Now Mark's focus is on, you know, Australia, but they've actually set up that same sort of business model in Europe and other countries, owned by different entrepreneurs. The interesting thing is that this is big league stuff. It's like, but I want to give you some examples of little league stuff that, you know, solo entrepreneurs, small businesses with up to 5 employees are using the online business to make money, selling their products and services. I don't know, any key golfers in the room? Right? You know, if you look at some of these sites online, some of these golf courses are phenomenal. So we actually geared all his pages relating to golf. And within a website, you've got to remember that within a website, one page, you've got to optimize it. What I mean by optimizing one page, like if some of this stuff might be going over your head, but I'm going to tell the story anyway because I want you guys to get it. If you can optimize one page, which is the title page, the description, the headings, and all the content on one page that has all the keywords to whatever people put into Google. All right? And just think about it. If you go on to Google or any of those search engines and you're trying to find something, you will type in a 1 word or 2 or 3 words or even a sentence. But those words that are typed into any of those search engines, you've got to have that on your page. All right? You with me? And I've critiqued all the websites of all the people that have been nominated for the awards and the winners of the awards. And I've got some very, you know, interesting news to give you guys. There's only a couple of you in this room, I won't mention who, that are doing a great job online. Some of you with search engine words and title pages and descriptions and content. You know, what will open up is virtual stores. All right? So they've actually taken photographs of all their shelves in their supermarket, and guess what they've done? They've put it up in train stations and stuff like that. So just imagine, you're at a train station in Korea, you're going, oh, I gotta go, the train's going to come in 10 minutes, like, God, I'm going to get home and do the shopping, you know, and then you turn around and here's a whole, like, wall as long as that wall there with products, and you go, right, okay, well, I want some bread, zip, bang, bread, some beans, some milk, whatever. You've created your shopping list online, press the button, your credit card's delivered, go to work, or next day, your shopping's delivered on your doorstep. Right? This is where the future is going with marketing and your business online. QR codes are the in thing. And then when you create a QR code, you can put that matrix type of code on napkins, on t-shirts, on caps. You know, you could go into a restaurant and use QR codes in a restaurant. For that bottle of wine that's down there, if you scan that QR code, it takes you to a page. It's a company in Italy and it'll tell you everything about that particular wine. Right? The grapes, the alcoholic volume, how long it takes to process that wine, and then down below they've got leave your comments about the wine, and then below that is if you want to order or contact the company, it's below. So QR codes. Lastly, offline. Here's a couple of things offline that you can do. And offline means just, if you're not going to do it online, these are some tips offline. Offline is innovation. I'm a key believer that if you're in business, it doesn't matter what size you are, all right, you've got to practice innovation in your business. And innovation is basically creating products and services that are going to create revenue, that are going to create profit for your business. So if your core line of products are whatever your core line of products are, what I want you to do in 2012 is think about what else can you sell? What else can you create that's going to bring in more money? And you might come up with something that will create more money. For me, I'm just going to give you an example here of an opportunity that came up. Like I said, I was born in Orange, and in the last 5 years, some of you in the room may have attended the game, but I live in Coogee in Sydney. I travel up to Orange quite frequently, and about 3 or 4 years ago, I brought the Brisbane Broncos NRL team and the Canberra Raiders to Orange to play in an NRL game. That was me. I instigated it, saw the opportunity, saw Parks were doing it, saw Dubbo were doing it, and I thought, why not Orange? So I brought the NRL game to Orange, and we've got a crowd of 9,000 people. Anybody in the room went to that game at all? No? 2 years ago, did the same thing. Brought the HSBC Waratahs and Fiji out from Fiji to play in Orange, the rugby union game. Anybody attend that game? No? Right. Not doing too good here. But that was a crowd of 8,500 people. So in the Orange community, I spotted an opportunity to do something. And I acted upon it, and look what the end result was. The most successful game, sporting game in Orange's history that I put on. I'm not saying that to impress you, I'm just saying this is an opportunity in Orange, and I wasn't living in Orange at the time. I was travelling to Orange and I spotted that opportunity. But this last one, which I'll close off with, it's an inspirational story. And I was sharing this with Terry earlier on. When I was putting on the game in Orange for the HSBC Waratahs in Fiji, I know the Springboks played in Orange. Alright? So I thought, well, how can I get information about the Springboks tour? Like, I went to the TV station and said, can you go into your footage and try and find any footage of the Springboks arriving in Orange Airport, which they did. We went into this area where there were like reels of film that were covered in dust and cobwebs, and we actually found real black and white footage, and that footage is amazing. Then I went down to the Orange City Library and I went, right, okay, there's got to be some stuff in the magazine. So I went into the library and I spoke to a girl called Carol, and I said, Carol, can you locate any books that might have information about the Springboks tour to Orange? So I was flicking over the pages, and then all of a sudden there's a time warp section that's written in the paper in Orange. And there was a brewery that was there, a massive big brewery, and I went, wow. I said to Carol, I said, Orange had breweries? She said, yeah. She said, we have about 6, but not many people know much about it. Even the Historical Society don't know much about the breweries in Orange. Wow, that's interesting. So over 2 years, one thing led to another, and one thing led to another, and I discovered, and my dad, you know, when he was alive, he knew everything in Nottingham, and I was owned by James Walker. So then the bottle collector said, you've got to go and talk to Shirley Duckworth. A lady, when she was young, she used to live in the brewery cottage in Orange. So I went and saw her, and then she brought out all these photos of the old brewery. Her grandfather worked in the brewery, etc., etc., etc. And then it just took off from there. And then I found where the actual brewery was actually built, or, you know, where it stood. And all these houses were on top of the brewery. So I started knocking on people's doors and said, you know, what do you know about the brewery? Have you found any bottles or broken bottles? One guy came out, Kent Platt, and God bless him, he's dead. He passed away in the process of it all. Very lovely guy. And he said, I said, do you know anything about the brewery? And he goes, yeah. He said, what do you want to know, mate? I said, well, obviously you know something that I know. So he said, come out the back. So we went out the back, and there was a great big lump in his backyard, covered in grass. He said, there you go. And I went, what am I looking at? He goes, that was the old entrance to the brewery. He said, when my house was built and the house next door was built, he said, we filled it all in. And he said, there's beer buried underneath there somewhere. I went, really? Shirley Duckworth told me that her father, when they closed down the brewery, he went down, dug a big hole, buried all these bottles of beer, because that's when the excise tax came in, and they had to pour all the beer out into the streams in Orange to get rid of it. Oh, okay. So I said, can I dig it up? And he said, yeah, like you and every other bastard comes along here. He said, I've got good intentions to come and dig it up, but he said, no one does. I said, where are you going to be 10 o'clock? This Saturday. So we went around and we dug up his backyard, and we went down 10 feet, and we found the old brewery walls, the brewery floors, old bits of bottle and all that sort of stuff. While we're digging it up, the town councillor, you know, I went down to the Orange City Council, right, and said, oh, I want some information about the maps of the brewery. And they went, what brewery? You're mad. And they went out, and I heard their conversation. They were talking to people behind about the brewery, about, you know, the guy out the front wants the plans, and they said, oh, he's mad. And then all of a sudden there was a ping, a noise, and I turned around, and there's this guy, Kitchy, that I hadn't seen for ages. He said, Fitzy, he said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm here to find some stuff out the brewery, but they all think I'm a psycho. And he goes, guess what I've got in my drawer? I said, what? He said, all the old plans of the brewery building.